We're in this field today. The sward's getting quite tired, so there's been a decision made to renew it. It's important to have a look at the soil, its structure, and for any compaction layers, so to make sure that your cultivation choice is appropriate. You're trying to get a spit of soil out of the ground to about 20 centimeters. We've extracted the soil block out. How deep it is can depend upon how firm the soil is. It can be more difficult in some loosely structured soils. We're mainly here today to try to understand the soil structure in terms of commonly used definitions. So we want to start to break this up. And what we're looking for is sort of the primary unit, okay? And as I see, it is quite a firm soil. Definitely time for this field to be brought into cultivation for renewal. But as you can see, I'm starting to break apart the soil beds, and I'm looking for the sort of primary structure, the one that becomes a bit more difficult to break up, and that's your sort of core structure, okay? And in this instance we're getting quite small, and this is when we can start to look at the VESS system. It has a 1 to 5 evaluation, mainly just about compaction levels and therefore loss of soil structure issue that you should be aware of when you come to management. In this instance, we're breaking the bed down into what we call this SQ2 area. Basically easy to break apart with one hand, as a mixture of porous, rounded aggregates, so the actual way the aggregate look are part of the evaluation as well. And the rooting systems, the roots are all clearly into there, okay? And this is for this upper soil profile. So I would say we could probably comfortably say it's an SQ2. With this system, there's no sort of clear issues related to soil structure. I still think that the soil's slightly compacted. It hasn't impacted the underlying structure. So concerns around long-term management as to renewal of organic material wouldn't necessarily be of great concern or primary concern for this field. But the lower half of the profile, a bit more firm. Definitely, I would say we're getting into a lower, like an SQ3. Okay, the aggregates are slightly larger, they're more firmly held together. So I'm getting to the point where they're not as easily broke apart and they're larger in size. So this is of a concern for us. Ideally, we'd like to see more roots down here. And I think that's due in part to drainage, but also in part to a slight reduction in soil structure. So we've come one field over from where we just did that last evaluation into a field there's no really any clear concerns. There's not any plans to renew the grass. It's generally considered to be producing well, just so that we can get a bit of a contrast in terms of the VESS system and see if there's any difference. So what we've seen so far is we've seen a very much similar in terms of the upper profile coming out, distinct from the lower half at about 12 centimeters or so. This is being held together by the root systems itself. I'm not seeing any of the clear drainage restrictions or concerns that I had before, not the modeling there. Okay, this looks and the rooting, the roots are definitely there, more common. We're getting down to an S2 for sure. So again, that's based upon partly on the shape of the aggregate, but also its size. As we move into the second half of this spit, we start to see a fairly high degree of compaction at this depth, and we're just not getting enough roots in there. The big message here is that I would expect to see the rooting system to be getting much further down into the profile. You can gain some very valuable information for best practice in land management by doing this simple process. This is a VESS, and it's available from the Valuing Your Soils booklet and also from the Farm Advisory Services website, the FAST website. And a fairly straightforward process, and hopefully, as you can see today, can be very informative about making sure that you're doing the right management strategies for your fields.